Okay, so I've already done this intro before. I kind of spent 3 minutes yapping and then I remembered that my microphone was not turned on. So this is going to be very awkward considering I've talked about this all before. But I do want to just go over the fact that we are on Waterloo here. A huge map, as you can see by the pure size of it. We have a huge movement of the Polish forces and the French forces, Polish and Roman coalition. I might just call them Polish this battle, and I do apologise if that is a accident and that is an issue. We have both the French forces here moving forward, cavalry heavy in its mass, a lot of lancers. I'm not seeing any hussars like we saw yesterday. It seems like lancers are the spam here. Lancer and elite build. There is no artillery. Is that dragoons that I see? That could be something different. Yes, we do see dragoons here from Aruni. I don't think artillery is in this battle. Maybe they have not allowed things such as howitzers and artillery. The lancers here from I can't say that name, unfortunately. Darjeeling? I don't have the pronunciation for that. We see the Polish lancers also here moving to counter Imperial Eagle, Backstoner and Pubra, all moving around trying to gain control. The Polish forces have taken La Haye Saint and are taking the high ground here. The French will move up to their hill, and I hear gunfire already. I'm not sure where from, and it's kind of like cutting in and out. Is there actually gunfire, or is that just a glitch? It might be this elite trading over here from Liam. I'm unsure. We do have a huge French cavalry movement pushing straight into the fire of the elites of Contapia and of Flavian there. I don't know whether that was smart to push that far ahead to try and take the cavalry fight. They do have the advantage, but the elites are just lurking way too much here. I would not take this fight as the French lines begin to advance in the centre. The dragoons leading the charge, looking to get a volley off and then turn back. Huge volley as the Polish elites now push. Polish and Roman elites now meet in the middle with the French. And here comes the big charge of the battle. The cuirassiers coming in here from Folly will crush these elites. The cuirassiers will leave a huge part of this, but the French are flanking over here. They have the extension, they have the forces to overflank. On the other side of the fight, it seems to be pushing with cavalry, the French, who seem to be decisively pushing heavy with their cavalry, having the numbers to do so. It seems like there's a lack of control here. On the left, the French forces seem to have won their victory quite well. There are lancers that are trying to turn the tide, trying to kill the French infantry, successfully doing so, but it's just not enough. There are too many French cavalry and infantry forces, and it seems like the first meeting outside of La Haye Saint seems to be going the French's way. The right flank has completely collapsed. The left flank, all that's left is Colotapia's elites. And some lancers that are lurking around from Ferrian here seem to be getting crushed. What's left of the Polish and Roman infantry is being forced to run back and forth, defend against cavalry. As much as the Polish cavalry is trying to defend their infantry, it's way too low to be able to do anything about it. And the French forces here now reorganising outside of La Haye to make their final push. Here, the Polish forces not having the strength to counter, not having the strength to do anything about it. And you can see the last of the elites here are going to go down. Over here, Coltcopia, that's how you say it, seems to be the last player. There are some elites here from Zach that are trying to make an escape, but I don't think it'll be very successful. There are dragoons that will just ruin any unit that tries to run away. These elites are still completely healthy, fully healthy here, which is very nice, but there's too many French people, and they will take this in first engagement outside of La Haye with minimal losses by the seams of it. Most of their cavalry seems to still be kicking and alive, although their infantry is looking very damaged here. Is there any Poles left? It does not seem like it. I believe there is an 18-second respawn timer on when everyone dies. to my knowledge, so we will be waiting a small period until the Poles and the Romans respawn. The French taking a huge victory at the start here, with forces now being given the ability to regroup from the French. A lot of these people gonna gain their experience back, gonna gain their health back. The veterancy, when they get healthy with their veterancy, these units will be lethal. 3-star elites, if they get full health, they will be very, very scary. Over here, they're more elites. There's 4-star lancers back here from sanity. If these guys get healed, they are scary. They can probably crush 2 units of unveteraned elites if they're not careful. And here is the Polish respawn coming in with a lot of infantry here. I don't think everyone's coming in with the same builds. It's looking very, very infantry heavy. The elites are going to be the big meta, the huge elite charge, as we saw at the start of the battle. We saw no skirmish, we saw no hussars. I think artillery is banned, otherwise someone would have brought it by now. We see Folly organising this right flank, using the road here. And the French cavalry is going to harass this left flank of the Polish with huge fire coming in. The cavalry just seems to be charging itself in. I'm not sure whether the French just want to respawn here. They might just be trying to do as much damage before they respawn. Crushing Varian's lancers here. Crushing a lot of lancers actually. The veterancy obviously showing why it's so important in this game. There is 4-star lancers just lurking here, chasing down these lancers. 3-star lancers. These cavalry are all but useless. Yeah, and the Lancers meet Varians get the better there. Liam's elites are going to repel that by the seems of it, just about, or not. These Lancers need to get their charge bonus. They are getting shot, and the infantry lines over here with the Dragoons are doing an outstanding job at just harassing these elites. You can see these elites are dropped very low due to the Lancers and the Dragoons. Around the back here, the Lancers are pulling back. The Dragoons are just trying to get what little damage they can off, and I believe it is just these 2 forces left for the French as they try to pull back here. Desjardins, 1 Lancer and 5 Dragoons over here from Maruni still kicking. We do have 1 Lancer away from Jinglu still trying to do something, and Backstoner's Lancers are in trouble. Oh, so close to going down. They might just want to take the engagement here, and they did. And both Lancers do go down. The Dragoons here are going to kill that Lancer as well. Rooney's Dragoons are doing very important damage before the respawn here for the French. They are just kiting back and forth for these elites. As the Dragoons now finally charge in, finally accepting the fact that the damage has been done, and the Poles have taken a lot of damage considering the amount of French forces that were left here. If we look after the first 2 engagements, what's going on here for the French, Sanity is doing an outstanding job here, doing the most damage for the French team. Backstoner doing the most for the Polish, although he has already lost his Lancers for this fight, as the French forces are now redeployed. Carthage forever leading the charge with his Lancers towards Le Hay, and the Polish forces will try and claim this hill once again. These elites are basically completely fresh. We do have a flag here. Is that like Serbian? Serbian, Roman, Byzantine? I can't really tell. It looks Greek, so I'm going to go with Roman or Byzantine. I do like that. I like the flags. It seems like he's the only one that's doing it, so I don't know whether he's breaking the rules, but I like it. Very cool stuff. These Lancers from the French are just bouncing around right now, forward, backwards, just humbling their way around, just moving sneakily, moving backwards and forwards. Obviously, these elites are just going to be lurking now. The French cavalry, as you see, Sanity's Lancers lurking around, Sanity being the top killer for the French forces right now. flanking the right side. It doesn't seem like the Poles see it. They haven't really moved anything to counter it. This could be a sneaky flank that they don't see. But, oh, there it is. There's the counter. Liam and Probra see it, yeah. And Sanity is going to take the engagement. I don't know. Yep, he does pull back. He kites back there, realizing the veterancy, realizing the numbers. As the French forces now advance onto the Poles and the Romans, you can see how big of a battle this truly is, as the French lancers now flank around this left side once more. They have left it open, and where is the rest of the Polish cavalry, you might wonder? It's nowhere. This is the forces, the cavalry. Dejalin gets the right flank completely open to them, as the elites now charge in completely. This will be a huge fight, and it seems like the French have the numbers, although the left flank, infantry base, the Poles and the Romans have more men. But the cavalry can come in from behind, as we see here, charging into the rear of Munich. Huge stuff, as the lancers over here, the Polish cavalry is completely wiped, and the Polish infantry now left unsupported. Only 2 lancers left from Probra, trying to lurk, trying to do something, trying to find any sort of ability to get anywhere in this battle. But it just seems to be elites. You can see Vice trying to form a square, just trying to find any sort of benefit in this fight, trying to kill anything that they can, as the elites now crush into what's left of the Polish elites and lancers. It just doesn't seem like the cavalry force was enough for Poland. They need more horses. They may have the infantry fight. You can see that they won the infantry fight. They were winning it until the cavalry came in. And that's the issue here. They had 2 or 3 people on the cavalry, and they just got overwhelmed when the French have like 6 or 7 cavalry players, and they just skid, like they have less infantry players. I think they're realizing, maybe they're building a meta themselves here, that the cavalry meta is coming into elite play. Obviously in the public lobbies it'll never be the same as this, because everyone here knows what they're doing. They understand the game. They understand that when their units are damaged they need to pull them back, etc. They don't understand that in the public lobbies, and cavalry might be the new meta in these lobbies here. But the French forces are looking weak at the end of this fight. They are looking quite weak, but they are the cavalry is still looking relatively healthy here. There is a lot of cavalry forces. Sanity 7th. My apologies, I don't think that was meant to happen there. I smell bleach. Maybe I'm having a stroke. Who knows? No, I think it's burnt toast, but whatever. Now the Polish forces have respawned here. Huge forces. There is just a white flag. I don't know. Have they already surrendered? I think they've already surrendered here. That's not a good sign. No, I'm being sarcastic. But the Polish forces, again, I just think they're too light on the cavalry. Oh, no. I tell a lie. Here comes... There is a lot of cavalry this time. There is now 5 cavalry forces. The French... Oh, apologies. Sanity's lancers now still lurking around with the veterancy. 7th as well, lurking with his lancers. They're not willing to take the fight unless they have the advantage, as they should. And here is the advantage. Although Backstoner's lancers have a huge opportunity to flank, but Munich will just crush those lancers, and Backstoner's trying to get his only lancer out of there, and 7th doesn't even lose a lancer. But here comes Ferian coming in, countering this cav charge. This is a huge cav battle outside of Plapayet. The Polish forces seem to be getting the worst of it though. The French forces, even though damaged, the veterancy shines through. The damage extra bonus from being those veteran stars just shows how important that is. And wow, that just shows over here the infantry fight isn't looking great almost for the French. They seem to have lost the infantry fight. The cavalry is going to try and support as fast as it can, but they know they can't do a lot without the infantry support. And here it is, they just come in there and they will just get themselves killed for the respawn. They know though, when they respawn, the Poles will not have any cavalry at all to respawn with. Because, oh, we do see some Polish cavalry here from Porobra. I believe a Polish and Roman cavalry still lurking, although it is not a lot. When the French respawn, their cavalry advantage will be huge. It just depends on how the French use it. And there is the first French respawn, I do believe. There it is, the cavalry forces coming in. You see all those lancers just stacked on top of each other here. Just stacked and stacked and stacked. Whether it's the right way to do things, I don't know. I think they do need to press this cavalry advantage. I think the cavalry advantage is what's currently winning them the game. There are dragoons, you can see the helmets there of the dragoons. That will be very useful as the French forces now set up. You can see the lancers from Munich making the first push as we take a look at the leaderboard. Jarling, I can't say that, doing the most for France here with an outstanding KD, the best KD of the game to my knowledge so far. Weiss being the top player for the Polish and Roman forces here. I actually believe Weiss is a mercenary, so that's very interesting to see that he has the best stats. Sanity, obviously, we talked about earlier, doing an outstanding job, and Jinglu also up there with the top killers, all breaking over 20 kills each in their own regards. Also, interestingly enough, it's interesting that the French forces seem to be taking the lead this game, considering they are two armies down here. I don't know what the balance have been throughout the entire battle, but they are 2 armies down. As the forces just march up this hill here, they are just looking to push the French back off their hill. As the French cavalry can just kind of reign free, as you can see, there is no cavalry to just lurk around and stop them. Fire has gone off, probably just ripping into some lancers here, as you can see right there, lancers having fire ripped into them. And the dragoons dealing early damage to the elites here before they engage it. It's just another huge elite charge. This is the meta right now. Elite charge after elite charge. This is what the meta is all about. Whoever gets the best with the elites. But I feel like people forget about how important cavalry is in these combats. Getting into the rear with this cavalry is what wins you these battles, not the amount of elites you have. It's just whether your cavalry players can do what they have to do. You can see over here, no cavalry being put in. It's just a complete gamble. You can see how low these units are. The veterans are obviously doing huge damage. The elites of the Roman and Polish forces over there being broken. And here comes the huge meeting between the two here. The cavalry though of France seems to be very important. Like I said, there are elites over here that are being caught off of position. And the last of the Polish and Roman elites being forced back. There are some Polish, and this is a Polish force I believe, or maybe a Roman one, that is just trying to get involved, but these dragoons will just keep kiting them and keep damaging them. The last of the Polish and Roman forces over there being shattered, and they just seem to be pushing on for their final attack. As corner 3 here has his last troops push forward towards dragoons, actually does kill one of the dragoons there, interestingly enough. As Folly's elites over here as well, just getting involved. They are just pushing forward for the sake of the push. Huge fights here, not a lot of skirmishing going on. It is just charge, charge, charge. No one wants to do a line battle here, because why would you? It would take forever, it would be slow, it would be grindy. It would not be useful for either side. It would just be a gamble. Neither side wants to take an even fight. Why would you take an even fight when you have the ability to either flank with the cavalry, or why would you take the fight if you have the numbers? Like, why would you want to sit there and shoot if you have the cavalry, or why would you want to sit there and shoot when you have the numbers? Because you can just charge and overwhelm. Neither side will actually take it to their Oh my god. My bad, guys. Neither side will want to sit there and just shoot each other. It is just a waste of time. But these French forces look damaged here. You can see over here Marshal Pontiacki, his elites looking weak. Jinglu's lancers over there looking light. Jarline's lancers, we see him flanking around left. We do see hussars for the first time this battle. They probably have been on the battlefield this a lot, but Murray here with his hussars, or her hussars, are now lurking. The dragoons going back and forth, being the kiting force that the French are using very effectively. I must admit, the dragoon play has been very nice this battle. I constantly see them harassing these lancers here from Baxona, just lurking through the French forces. I don't, oh my, look at that over here, the Polish cavalry just riding down two French lancer forces here. Sanity trying to get away, and it doesn't look like Carthage forever will be as lucky getting away here, as the lancers of Liam will chase him down. And Sanity does take the fight here. He decides that he has nowhere to run. Probra doing all he can, and there goes Jinglu coming involved. But he is going to get charged in the rear by Ferian, and this could be a tide-turning move. Weiss and Ferian, the two leaders here, one leader of the Rhine, one leader of Poland, using their cavalry effectively. Probra as well, a Roman. We had a mixture of a lot of nations here. Back on the main fight over here, it doesn't look like it's going too well for the French. They are just kiting. They seem to have lost the infantry fight, which I've missed following that cavalry fight. And it just seems to be that the French cavalry survives. Again and again and again, we see the same style, same pattern of battle almost, where the French win the first engagement, the Polish have to respawn, and then what's left of the French infantry gets crushed, and the French cavalry just has to keep kiting and running around. That is the pattern of battle that we have seen, and it hasn't really changed this game. We have seen some big cavalry engagements here, the Polish obviously learning from their mistakes, taking more cavalry. They had small lancer forces originally, to my knowledge, and now they have big lancer forces. They now have what is probably 6 or 7 players on lancers here. And here comes another French respawn here. We can take a look at the points right now. Let's see. We have a small French victory. There is 17 minutes left on this battle here today. It is a minor slight French victory here with 8 to make that 7 in advantage. We have to see how close this battle really is going. I mean, they need some side could do something big and turn the battle in these last 15 minutes. One big crushing maneuver could be all it takes. As you can see here, the balance is basically the same here. It is 17 v 17 now. We just saw the 18th player from Poland and Rome drop out, so that we have a completely even fight. And this battle, I would say, has been really even. It has been back and forth. They've been returning fire back and forth. The Poles now obviously having a slight disadvantage, having lost their infantry and cavalry in the first engagement. There is always that group of men that you lose at the start, but now the French forces are just chilling at the back here. They are just going to set up, they're going to take their time. They have no reason to stress. They do have the advantage here. They have the kills, they have the points. Why waste it? Here you see the Hussars. Here's the Hussar force. We see that Hussars don't come around very often, but there are 1 or 2 players that do just take the 5 Hussar forces, and they are very exciting stuff, these Hussars. It doesn't seem though that anything else is going on. I tell a lie. Here seems to be a big cavalry engagement as Ferian lancers just run past the other ones and chase down Sanity. Sanity being a really important play here. 7th, Sanity needs to turn around and just take this engagement. He could have just taken that engagement much earlier, relied on his teammate 7th to come in and bail him out, but here comes Vice with his veteran Lancers, and they will absolutely crush here. They have a huge advantage, and you can see how many Lancers are now being crushed as Ferian's Lancers now come along. The French forces do have the numbers, but you can see here there are veterans that will just shred through any Lancers that stand in their way, as Backstoner now gets involved, Noob gets involved. Oh my god, this has been a huge fight here. There is infantry fire being exchanged by the seams of it, or it is just infantry firing into these Lancers here, and these Lancers from Probra will just claim that Lancer there. The Poles winning that fight, showing how important getting the veterancy on your unit is and getting out of there alive with a unit with 3 or 4 stars. If I was in this battle, if I had 3 or 4 stars at this point, I would get my cavalry back. I don't care about my infantry support, I don't care about supporting the rest of the team. I know that these Lancers are what's key to this battle. The Lancers and the Hussars being chevroned is the key to the battle. As now the infantry fight begins, Aruni's Dragoons returning fire here, and here is a huge charge of the Hussars. The Hussars will crush these elites as much as they die. These elites now completely get smashed. There is no hope for that right flank, and the French will smash with no regard. As they lose the right flank over here, the French, the cavalry forces from the Poles finally seem to be winning an engagement. They have won their first engagement in a major fight by the seams of it, and the Polish forces now will, Polish and Roman forces, my apologies, will now have to show how much their cavalry matters in this infantry fight. Otherwise they will lose this combat, and neither side wants to lose an engagement this early into the game here. As you see the Hussars now just trying to get to those elites but could not. It's unfortunate as Marshal Pontiaski loses the last of his elites here, and the French forces, looking down to their last as the Dragoons try and just kite their way back and forth. The Hussars into the back of the elites there. They are trying so desperately to get value here, doing everything they can, these French forces, but these Dragoons will be chased down by what's left of the Lancers here of Ferian. And that is the last of the French forces now completely routed from the battlefield. Let's see how that has an effect on the battle. And now we see the Polish take a huge lead here. The Polish taking what is one of the biggest leads from what I've seen now. From 7 to 34 points. 7 in favour of France, to 33 in favour of Poland and Rome. But obviously these forces are unsupported. These forces will die, and this is going to be roughly around 30 men in of themselves. So if they die, with minimal casualties to the French forces, they could just even this out, level it out almost. As you see, the cuirassiers here. First time we're seeing them this battle. Darjeeling taking the cuirassiers hugely. Actually, this isn't the first time we've seen them in this battle. This is the second time, sorry. But they are hugely effective if they can get into the infantry. They just need to avoid the Polish Lancers. I don't think that this was the time to take them though, because the Lancers here are too veteraned. They have 4 stars and 5 stars respectively. These guys will not lose any fights that they take. Over here, you see 4 stars, 3 stars, hugely important units that will not lose any cav fights. Here, Ferian, 3 star, 3 star, 5 star, 3 star. It's just veterancy, and that's all that matters. If these guys engage right now, they cannot win the cav fight. The French will lose every cav fight that they take. They need to wait for their infantry, and they don't have the time to wait. They don't have the points, they don't have the time to waste. And obviously the Polish, realising their advantage, will drive them back. Noob's Lancers here, the only non-veterancy group. And Here they come, they're just chasing. Sanity's lancers drop. This is just going to be unfortunate here. They need to keep pulling back. They might lose a lancer, they might lose two. Oh, and I think they are turning around, and that is not what I think you should be doing. These French Lancer forces will be completely crushed in this combat. As you can see here, the Poles and Romans taking minimal casualties, although they are losing veterans. Losing a veteran force is never good, but the French have immediately lost their cavalry support. There is no cavalry support left. They are completely wiped off the field of battle. They are down to Carthage forever, and there are obviously cuirassiers lurking somewhere, I believe. I don't know where these cuirassiers have gone, but we did see Jarlene's cuirassiers earlier in this battle. As now fire is being exchanged around and about. The Polish lancers just need to get back now for the engagement and deal as much damage to these French forces. The elites here from Varian and Joe Marmo. Here, some more over here. You can't really read the names because they are going inside the buildings. Corner 3, there are the cuirassiers that will smash through these elites, and they will cause the casualties. They will try and save as many of the French elites and get as much veterancy as they can before the Poles get their respawn. Over here you can see a lancer force here from Noob still lurking, and the elites back here just retreating, not wanting to take this fight in Huguemont, or sorry, La Haye Saint. And this is just going to be a complete rout, but these lancers are doing more than enough damage than they need to. They are doing more than enough, and these French forces are looking incredibly weak coming into this next fight, although there is still just a huge force that hasn't been used here. There is a full army there, but from Noob, that has not been used. It's been lurking, it's just hanging around. Varian's Lancers now making its final charge here, and same for Baxona, they are just charging for the final time into these lines, but Noob's units are still lurking as his elites get engaged. And Ninsaw here, this is just a fair 1v1 and the Lancers will crush this fight. It's a fair 1v1 and he just charged his elites in without support. This is a huge blunder from the French player Ninsaw. I don't understand why he went for the fight alone when he knew he didn't have the cavalry support. But Noob needs to cycle his lancers. That lancer just dies for free. He should have cycled. He should have cycled. And that is some free veterancy, I guess. Now Noob will just kite back here, and he will try and regain some health by the seams of it. He has his veterancy, but I think, as you saw earlier, him just saying don't stall, they will just go in there and just get the battle over and with. As there is 7 minutes left and the Polish just extend their lead even longer. 51 points, and with only 7 minutes remaining, I don't see how a French victory is possible here. As we see, the players have been even through most of the battle, flipping between a French and a Polish and Roman advantage, but it seems that these cuirassiers will just die. I don't understand why the cuirassiers were being just charged in there. They have just thrown them away for free here, and they have earned that. I mean, he could have claimed the lancer does go down, but I mean, he shouldn't have really earned that lancer. The stalling, though, seems to have worked against the Poles and the Romans almost. Now, with the French gaining a huge part of the battlefield, pushing even past La Haye Saint, this is the furthest up I believe we've seen an army on this battlefield. We don't normally see them push this far towards a spawn in this battle. Here you see a lot of lancers now moving out. I haven't really seen much Hussar usage or cuirassier usage. We did see 1 or 2 bits of usage from them, which were really important maneuvers, but they haven't really been used to their peak ability. This elite is just pushing forward here from Sanity. I think the French are just going to make their push and just try and respawn as fast as possible. They are just going to sack themselves here. And yeah, this is where sacking works. The elites are just unveterans from Poland, and they will just die to the French veteran elites. But if I am a French person in this battle, I'm not going to take this fight. I'm not going to give the Polish and Roman forces these veterancies. You see here, these the French forces and the Polish forces are gaining stars from killing these units. I would never want to give them the stars without a fight, and obviously there is no denying it, but like, they will get the stars no matter what happens. It will be inevitable that they get those veterans, they get them stars, but you want them to fight for it. You want to try and kill as many of the ones that are getting veterancy as fast as possible. Now we wait and we see the French respawn, come back again. The time on the clock only remaining 5 minutes, and it just isn't enough time, and I think the battle will be settled in the favour of the Polish and Roman forces here today. The cavalry though, obviously, it just is so much important. You saw at the start of the battle how the Polish and Roman forces were not getting enough out of their combats. They didn't seem like they were getting the effectiveness in the first engagements because they had the little cavalry forces, and now that the Polish have brought their extra lancers, they've put more men on lancers. Here their victory comes. The French now are losing their combats because I do believe that I'm not sure what's really going wrong for the French actually. I think the major issue on the French side here is that these lancers are taking fights with veterans. They are charging fresh lancers into veteran ones, and it just will not work in their favour. We saw the huge cav fight before the most recent one. They charged in, they did some damage, don't get me wrong, they killed a veteran or two, but they lost at least 20 lancers for it, and it just wasn't value. But if I'm French, this is the cav fight you want to take. Unveteran versus unveteran. You want to just gamble. You need to gamble at this point. You need to take these gambles, but Sanity really doesn't want to by the seams of it. He is going to just try and get forward, and he will lose that lancer at the back here. He just needs to take the fight. He needs to accept it, and he will be driven further and further away from his main line here as the French forces now collapse on what's left of the Polish and Roman forces. We do see a huge force lying at the back of La Haye here, maybe trying to buy themselves some time, run out the timer perhaps, so that the French forces cannot kill any more. Far away you see Sanity just trying to get any sort of value out of his lancers. I think the only value he is going to be able to get is the time wasted and the distance that Varian is now away from the rest of his army. And here comes what I believe will probably be one of the final elite charge, if not the final elite charge of this game. We see a lot of these this game. It just matters who gets the advantage of them, and the elites over here are just so important. The meta obviously is really heavily in their favour, being the strongest unit, beating cavalry in combat a lot also, but it's just how fast moving the cavalry is that I talk about it so much. It's so fast moving, and if you have the advantage, you can get into the rear, which an even elite fight cannot do. You can't do that in an even elite fight. Whereas when you have the cavalry advantage, you have the ability to get into the rear, you have the ability to do so much damage, as what's left of the Polish forces now seems to be nothing but lancer forces lurking around La Haye, and the French forces look so healthy, so healthy. It is insanely good. And we see here the points are just getting more and more distant, unfortunately. There is 2 minutes left on the clock. The battle is over at this point, and as you saw here, they're talking about stalling, they're talking about how they were running away, and I can't help but slightly agree to a degree. There has been some slight stalling in this game with forces just kiting back, and I will give credit to the French in regards to the fact every time they're in this losing fight when they're outnumbered, they just commit, they just charge, and they will just accept the fact of their defeat. But it's almost like you want to do as much damage before you die. You don't just want to die, and I can understand how people can see that as stalling, but I just don't think it really is. As you see Noob's Lancers here, Noob still alive. I mean, his forces have always been one that have been lurking around, being the last few troops here. As Backstoner pulls his last lancers back, he will just take this engagement. He will just let himself die there. But the lancers here from Noob will just lurk around. I mean, he hasn't engaged yet, and the last of the 4 lancers now will just, I don't know, they haven't even really charged into the elites here. They're not doing any damage. Yeah, they will just die. And that's what's left. And I believe that will basically settle the battle here today. Polish forces will respawn, but I do not believe the French forces really do have enough time for this. And you see here, cuirassiers coming out, lancers coming out. At least if I'm the Polish, I'm just going to take a pure cavalry spam at this point. I want to smash. I know that the French are low on HP, and I would want to smash as hard as I can. And you can see it's kind of there. You see how much cavalry is just coming out. You see 2 forces of cuirassiers. You don't see that very often. 2 forces of cuirassiers just going straight in. And it will just go straight into the lancers of all things. I don't think that is the smartest play for the cuirassiers. And here's where the cuirassiers are useful. Into the rear of these elites here, and they will crush even with the elites. And that will be the end of the battle here today, with a Polish and Roman victory. I don't know the final scores, but it was a very close battle here today. And I would want to thank everyone here in this game here, particularly Varian and the Roman forces. Zach and Varian have been very helpful to me getting into this. The French forces I haven't really talked to before, but I want to thank the French forces for showing up and giving a great battle for me to spectate here today. And that was one of the closest battles that I have seen. It seemed close, and then it was very, very close up until the last 10 minutes almost. One of the combats really just didn't go the French's way, and it all just went downhill from there. But thank you very much. Here you can see my setup here. Thank you very much for being here and watching. Thank you very much. I keep saying thank you very much. The endings are always going to be awkward, by the way. Yeah.